Before we get to that interview, though, folks, I do need to tell you about today's sponsor, which is BetOnline. We're back and better than ever. All eyes are on the gridiron as teams are back on for another football season. As always, BetOnline is your number one spot for all of your pro and college football action this year. With a new and updated site and interface, even more odds, props, and contests, BetOnline continues to be the number one source for everything football. Head to their website or use your mobile device to sign up today to receive your 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Don't forget to use promo code BELIEVE to receive your bonus. From football, basketball, boxing, right to your favorite Vegas casino games, don't wait to take advantage of all of the amazing offers available for the 2021 season. BetOnline is the fastest and easiest way to bet on all of your favorite sports. BetOnline, where the game starts.
Welcome to this Believe in NFL Draft Prospect podcast interview edition. Joshua Williams, defensive back out of Fayetteville State. You know, he's on most radars in terms of the All-Star game experience. Over 6'2", 6'2.5", about over 200 pounds. Talented defensive back. Like I said, Fayetteville State has been a very productive football player during the course of his career. This year, specifically, 3 interceptions and 9 pass breakups in 8 games played. He's been a very good football player, and I'm excited to have him join the show now. Joshua, appreciate you hopping on, man. How's everything going?
Everything's good, man. I appreciate you for having me.
Oh, absolutely, man. I know, obviously I work on the All-Star circuit. I know, I keep close ties to, everybody involved, from the Jim Nagy and Senior Bowl to Eric Galko, the Shrine Game. And I know everybody I talked to has spoke very highly of you. Obviously, when we're talking about your style of defensive back, everybody wants that long, athletic corner, which, of course, you are. So I want to start you out, though, man, before we really start highlighting what you've been able to do at Fayetteville State. I started to, just go back a little bit. Palmetto Prep originally, obviously, and then we're talking about Jack Britt High School. I think you had a couple different stops as far as your journey to Fayetteville State. So can you just take me through a little briefly your prep career, high school career, and how you ended up ultimately at Fayetteville State?
Yes, sir. Out of high school, I was a receiver, believe it or not, and I played that up to my senior year. My senior year, my coaches, he moved me to corner, and this was my first time playing. It felt natural. I started to play a little better. Some coaches started to come around, and I realized I had a chance to play collegiate football. At the time, I didn't really have any plans on doing it, although I wanted to. And that's when things became, kind of clear that I would have a chance to play at the next level. So I ended up, going to Palmetto Prep to, just continue to sharpen my skills, and also because I wasn't D1 eligible, I went there and just to get more college looks. I ended up going to Fayetteville State just because that was the best D2 offer. Honestly, not necessarily because I'm from Fayetteville, but the other teams, Fayetteville State just happened to be pretty good at the time, and things were just right. So I ended up choosing Fayetteville State.
I love it, man. So I have a couple questions there. Obviously, you said, maybe it wasn't the big determiner staying in Fayetteville, but how excited was the family, to continue your athletic career in your hometown? It has to be pretty cool for them.
Right. They were, they were excited with whatever decision I made. They were very supportive. Of course, they were happy because they're going to, be able to come to all the home games. And, I was just, I think it's more of a blessing than anything, blessing in disguise that I ended up coming to Fayetteville State because everything worked out. And, I can't be more happy with the decision I made. So.
And I know from just from a perspective of evaluating corners, I mean, personally, at least for me, and I think for most evaluators, it's a big bonus having defensive backs that have a wide receiver background, because I feel like a lot of corners do at times struggle being able to play the football in the air and have those ball skills. How beneficial do you feel like it was for you to be able to start on the offensive side of the ball before you made that transition ultimately?
I think that definitely helped. I think a big thing that helped was the things I learned at receiver, like what to attack a DB with. I now know, playing DB, and I can kind of use that to help me execute the things that I want to while playing DB. so I know what a receiver wants to attack or what they're looking for, and just basically, I know kind of what their plan is at the line of scrimmage and what they're looking for.
Yeah, and I know when I think of like tall, longer corners with that background, obviously I think of Richard Sherman. I think of Antonio Cromartie back in the day, guys that had started obviously their careers at wide receiver. And I think that's obviously a huge bonus. And I want to talk to you, Joshua, because I know you were a guy, unfortunately, like a lot of players were, missed 2020 due to obviously the COVID-19 pandemic, unfortunately. How tough was that year, and how proud are you just of the program and your team specifically being able to come out on the other side, potentially a better program for getting through that adversity?
Right. I mean, the 2020 season, yeah, we did end up missing, and it's a shame. But I think I got better, and I think we got better as a team. We still practiced, did all that kind of stuff. I mean, just training pretty much that 2020 season, getting ready for this season. You know, our coaches, they kind of had a plan. We brought some guys in, and we executed all of that, and it all came into fruition this season. And I'm thankful for just being able to play football this year. So.
And what would you say are maybe some of your biggest improvements? Because obviously the thing that's going to pop off again, ball skills, length, like you fit the prototype of what next level evaluators want at the cornerback position. What do you feel like maybe are some of your biggest strengths as a football player, and maybe some of the spots where you've had biggest improvements over the last couple of years?
Right. I think my biggest strength has always been just the versatility. I can line up in the slot, outside. I can roll high and play safety. You know, my athleticism. And something that I really worked on. Believe it or not, I was working on my ball skills when I got here. Turning those picks or those drop picks and pass defenses into interceptions was a big thing that I was trying to work on. And another thing, that I worked on, just my technique as a whole and understanding just football literature, knowing what the offense is looking for in certain personnels, understanding down and distance, situational football, all of those kind of things. So, all the intricacies of football is something that, my coaches and, me also just took a big emphasis on. So.
So one thing that I love about your game is, and usually this is a little bit of a negative to some taller corners, is the fact of like transition. Sometimes, you're a little high legged, especially you being a guy that's 6'2.5". For me, when I was watching your film, I was like, this kid moves like a much smaller corner, in my opinion. Is that something that's been natural, or have you maybe worked on your flexibility a lot since you've been in college?
No, it just, I'd say it started that high school year. Believe it or not, the other corner, my high school year, he was like 5'6", and he was a good corner. Believe it or not, he was 5'6", and he was a baller. And my DB coach Brian Frierson, I still train with him to this day. He was a small corner himself, and him teaching me how to play corner, him just naturally being a short guy, just staying low and all of those foot mechanics, they kind of just impressed on me and began to be a part of my game. So that me learning how to play corner was always, I'd say that's where it started, all that fluidity and staying low. They put a huge point of emphasis on that my first year playing corner, and that just followed through. So, I'm thankful to have had Brian Frierson as a coach, and I'd say that probably is one of the bigger determining factors that put me in the spot I am now.
I love it, man. Because I mean, I'm a guy that obviously, I think a lot of press man teams are going to love the length and everything. But like for me, I watched your film and I was like, I think he could play in pretty much any system, any coverage. Like I think that you have obviously that potential. And I'm curious now, like when you're talking about maybe players past, present, growing up, who are some of your guys? Because like for me, like I played linebacker, so like growing up, I was like a huge Luke Kuechly fan. Like that was my dude for like of all time,
Right.
For you as a corner, wide receiver background, who are some of your guys that maybe you watch a ton that you like to just emulate them to a degree?
Um, when I was growing up, I was a big Sean Taylor fan. So the year at Palmetto Prep, when I was playing free safety, of course, I would just watch Sean Taylor highlights before the game. But I love Rod Woodson, Charles Woodson. I love watching Ed Reed. My favorite corner of all time to probably watch and emulate is probably Darrell Reeves. Um, you know, his technique and him just how he could shut down one side of the field. It was very impressive, and that's something I look up to definitely. And as far as corners now, I watch Jalen Ramsey, of course. I'm a big Stephon Gilmore fan. There's a lot of good guys, and Xavier Howard. So, a lot of those long, versatile corners I love.
And curious question for you, because I know you had said like you're comfortable playing inside at nickel, playing safety, playing all over the place. You mentioned a lot of guys there that do that exact same thing. Like they are literally guys that can follow, whether it is a Devontae Adams that's playing in the slot, playing Z, playing X, wherever. They're kind of guys that can shadow. How natural was, because I know you said that you played some safety, beforehand, but how natural is the nickel? Because I know it's a little tough. Guys have two-way goes. It's a little bit of a different animal, really quick twitch type of position. How natural of a fit is the nickel spot, do you feel like, for you? And maybe how difficult of a transition can that be for a guy that is so long like yourself?
Right. Well, my freshman year coming in here, we had two corners already. And the way that I got on the field a lot of times on the defense was, of course, special teams. I played every special team my freshman year, but I was playing the nickel. And, it wasn't nothing, too different because, like I said, the season before, I was playing free safety at the prep school. So me playing the nickel, it was, just another position. Like I said, I try to pride myself on versatility and knowing what and how to play other positions. So I didn't think it felt unnatural. It felt, pretty normal. And it's all about technique. So just knowing what you have and staying disciplined to your techniques, I say is the biggest factor.
And I know, unfortunately, you guys just suffered, obviously, a loss in the CIAA championship game. But I just kind of want to look at this as a whole, Joshua, for a second. You guys, 8-2 season, very successful, obviously coming off the COVID pandemic year. What is just the season, just kind of looking at the full scope of it? How has it been? How happy were you just with the overall performance of the team?
Right. I was pretty happy with the season. You know, uh, I can't really ask for too much more. I think my defense, played a great season, and I think my team played a great season. We have a lot of good players. Definitely not just the only guy. I'm not the only player on the team. There's off through offense to defense, all the way down and up the depth chart. There's tons of talent, and I appreciate those guys for their valiant effort this whole season. But as far as how my season went, I can't complain. Of course, you always want to have the most picks and the most tackles, but I can't really complain. I had a pretty decent season. Looking to improve and continue to become a better football player.
And I know one thing that coaches always harp on is, for an incoming class, leave the program better than when you left it. Leaving it now on an 8-2 record, seeing some of the young guys that now are going to be transitioning into the leadership roles that you have had over the last couple of years. How happy are you with the state of Fayetteville State, and what should we look forward to this team now moving forward after you leave?
I'm very happy with them. And it might sound weird, because I'm leaving, but believe it or not, even though I'm leaving, I think they'll be a better team next year. They're more experienced, and I'd say midway through the season, a lot of those younger guys got to play. Definitely at the linebacker spot. Our linebackers that started the end of the season, those were guys who only had 1 year under their belt. So and when one of them literally was a freshman on the field. So those guys, the experience they got through this season, and the people they have coming back, I definitely expect them to go back to the championship and win it this time. So
I love it. And I really appreciate all the time, Joshua. I want to kind of end you with a couple NFL draft questions, obviously, because I'm a big believer in the talent that you have. I think you're going to obviously play at the next level. kind of seeing some of the attention that you got in the preseason and even throughout the season from NFL, draft pundits and the people that make decisions. And I know that I'm sure there was a bevy of scouts throughout Fayetteville State throughout the year, kind of coming through and on game visits or preseason visits. What has the attention been like for you? And just how excited are you now to start that next chapter in your story?
Right. The attention, that's cool. I'm blessed to just be in the opportunity I am now. But that doesn't change anything. What I've done, practicing wise and training wise, I still approach practice the same way, still went in the locker room the same way. Everything I've been doing got me to this spot. So, of course, there's nothing that changed. It feels good for those people to come through. But at the end of the day, if I'm not playing well and I'm not doing what I need to, those guys are going to be there. So I know I have to keep my head on straight and focus on training and playing well. And, I appreciate all my teammates and coaches for keeping my head on straight and helping me through that process.
And my last question is a two-parter. Obviously, very shortly here, I know these next few months are probably going to go by like a blink of an eye. Just knowing that pretty soon here, NFL player, but playing professional football. First part of the question, how long has that been a dream? And number two, when it finally does come a reality, what type of blessing would that be ultimately for you?
Right. It's always been a dream. I'm sure if you went and looked in my kindergarten book, when it asks you what your profession wants to be, you'll see professional football player. And I can't tell you how many teachers, said, well, put something else do you know the likelihood of you going to the NFL? Believe it or not, my freshman year, I told one of my trainers, and then this is a knock on her, told one of my trainers I was going to the NFL, and she shot that down. She was like, "Oh man, you're not going there," blah blah blah, and she's not here no more, and that's not a shot at her or anything, but just having that deep rooted ambition in me, and always believing that was going to happen. I'm just extremely ecstatic for this to finally be coming into fruition and actually seeing it happen. And it's a blessing, and sometimes I can't believe it myself, man. You've been wishing for something your whole life, and it's finally in front of you. So I thank God, and I'm happier than I could ever be.
Well, I really appreciate all the time, man. A quick tangent for you. I've been in the education field, and I remember I also had a teacher that they hung up the percentages of high school athletes that are going to play professionally in all sports, and I hated that so much. So when I transitioned into the education field, I was like, I'm never going to tell a student ever again that they can't do anything, because that is just the worst thing in the world. So really appreciate it for you sharing your story again. Joined by Joshua Williams, star defensive back out of Fayetteville State. NFL draft fans out there, make sure to get him on your radar. He's a long, athletic defensive back that can play all over the place. Very talented football player. Joshua, appreciate you, man. This is fantastic. I know it's going to be a crazy process for you, man, but I'll be rooting for you, and I'll be very hopeful to see where you land all-star circuit-wise, and obviously when you make that transition to the NFL.
Yes, sir. Thanks for having me.